Thanks for your company tonight. I'm Ashwyn Segkar with you until 10 o'clock tonight. We're going to dive into a psychological topic based around the escape room. Have you ever done one? They're picking up. They can afford to rent entire inner city buildings now because enough people want that experience of being trapped and made to escape. So what's happening? What's going on psychologically with them? If you've got a story of an escape room, comments about them, you can call on 1300 222 612 or you can text 0467 922 612. Nathaniel Wells is a psychologist from North Brisbane Psychologist who can hopefully explain a little bit more of what's going on in the escape room. Hi, Nathaniel.
Hey, man.
Have you ever done one?
I have. I did one a couple of years ago.
What did you think about it?
I actually had a great time, and I guess was surprised in a sort of egotistical way about how little part I had to play in my group's success.
Okay, right. Were you deliberately holding back or what was going on there?
No, I kind of accidentally made all of the wrong judgments.
Okay. Were you able to put your psychologist hat away when you were in that room and just enjoy the game, or were you analysing why are we acting like this at the time?
Oh, no, I definitely put the hat away, I think, and I got lost in the experience. It was very easy to get lost in it.
What is going on with escape rooms? How would you describe the appeal of an escape room?
Well, I mean, I think it's in the name, right? The escape, in that it's almost like a produced method of replicating an escape, and there's that expectation of you will escape from this room, and it's a manufactured challenge where we all get to have a great time trying to escape from the room in this really produced, manufactured way of having a fun escape with some friends.
So do we enjoy being trapped as well?
I think we do, and I think we enjoy even more the idea that there will be a predicated solution, that we will be able to find our way out of this entrapment that we found ourselves in.
What's the secret to making it work? What were you doing wrong, do you think? You made a lot of bad decisions that day. Looking back, what do you think was behind some of them?
I think I was more keen to be the one that was right rather than actually looking for a solution to the problem.
So is that a lesson in that for groups, just to not drive ahead, but try to find some wisdom in your co-workers and colleagues?
I think definitely. I think I was playing out a story in my head of, I'm going to look behind this little prop here, and then I'm going to find something, and I'm going to be able to say to all of my friends, oh, look at me, I'm smart.
So you just ran off to pick up everything you could and see what was underneath it?
Yes, there was no rhyme or reason to what I was doing.
Okay. All right. So they are becoming more popular. Are you noticing, as a psychologist, there's some differences perhaps in the psychology of 20-year-olds and 50-year-olds that might explain why the young people are so into these escape rooms?
I'm perplexed, if anything, as to why there's such an age demographic difference in terms of why we find so much joy out of this in terms of a younger demographic. And maybe the explanation may be in that as groups, we're probably more, predisposed to go out in these clumps because in your early 20s you have more time to do these kinds of things, or maybe because it is a new experience and the novelty of a new experience is somewhat more drawing than what other people have typically done in groups of that age.
Is there also an idea that younger people are more comfortable with danger and risk than older people?
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's always been a thing psychologically, in that young people tend to seek out risk and danger, and the escape room, I suppose, is a methodical way of doing so without any real risk.
Why are younger people more open to danger than older people?
Well, it comes down to frontal lobe development for sure, in that if we look at, say, the statistics as to why males are more highly risk-taking than females, it's because of frontal lobe density. And the frontal lobe basically dictates, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this thing for self-preservation.
Right, and it takes a while to become dense.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time in our development.
Okay, well, that's interesting to know. What about the problem-solving aspect of escape rooms? How good is problem-solving for us?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's why so many things are constantly recommended, like Sudoku, puzzles, crosswords even, in that problem solving keeps us sharp and it keeps us ready to solve the problems that come up for us in daily life. And I would argue one of the big draws of what makes an escape room entertaining. It is a problem.
Yeah, tell us about what's happening in your brain when you solve those problems. Are you building new neural connections that you can use in communication later on? What's the neuroscience behind problem solving?
Well, based on the knowledge that I do have regarding the neuroscience around this kind of thing, where we're sort of engaging a lot of neural pathways that exist to solve problems that we need to be using on a day-to-day basis in order to, say, use it or lose it. And if we're engaging those circuits more and more, we engage in a process of what's called myelination, where the brain is then kind of protecting those neural circuits even more because we're using them even more. And when we solve problems, our brains also give us a nice big dose of dopamine, serotonin to say, hey, look at you, you did a thing, you solved a problem, how good's that? And that's likely the draw of that relief and that success feeling that we get when we solve the problem in the escape room.
So it's a nice reward. But, browsing your social media, when you get a like on Facebook, you get a bit of a dopamine rush as well, do you? So how is this different to a social media rush? Is it a healthier approach to getting that dopamine hit?
Oh, totally. Because if we, say, look at the social media dopamine rush, that may be a much smaller one that then leads into, well, I need to keep it going. I need to keep getting likes. Whereas if we look at, say, the escape room of the solving a problem, that's much more a long-lasting hit, I would say, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're listening to Nathaniel Wells, a psychologist from North Brisbane Psychologist, taking us into the psychology of the escape room. So, because I was going to ask you on this dopamine hit problem, is it possible to fry your dopamine circuit by constantly stimulating it, constantly getting rewards to the point where you need more and more and more, like an addict needing more and more just to get to the same level? Is that something we need to worry about, overstimulating our reward circuits?
I would try and change the terminology just a little bit there in terms of frying a circuit, because to fry a circuit would imply that the circuit is no longer usable or it's not recoverable. But exactly what you're saying there of the step up and up and up of how much more we need to keep getting the same level of stimulation is 100% true. Where the more we kind of seek that stimulation, the more we need to replicate the initial stimulation that we got, exactly how addictions work.
So on the flip side of this, does that mean we have to be more comfortable with being bored?
Oh, 100%. I'm a big advocate for getting comfortable being bored.
Can you tell us about boredom? How much boredom should we have in our day?
How long is a piece of string?
Yeah. Or just roughly, don't always be seeking stimulation, don't always have the TV on. How would you describe people's approach to boredom, the approach to boredom we should be taking in this culture versus what we are doing? Can you maybe flesh that out a little bit?
So boredom is something that's become scary and terrifying in the age of social media and phones, in that if you look at how people act on a bus now compared to 10 years ago, everyone is looking at their phones instead of gazing out windows and that sort of thing. I'm not an advocate for gazing out windows, but it's more so to say that we have become afraid of being bored, and bored has become something that's marketed as almost irregular and unhealthy, where the illusion of social media and staring at your phone is that you are doing something productive and it makes you feel like you're achieving something, and therefore boredom is not achieving something and somehow a waste of time.
But you're actually just pushing up the amount of reward dopamine that you hit in order to reach that baseline, so you're actually damaging yourself by overstimulating yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and constantly looking for more and more stimulation, and then we're also falling into algorithms that maintain our attention for a very long time, and we fall out of touch with controlling our own attention, essentially, and not using our attention on other things such as problem solving or even creating our own entertainment.
Okay. So be bored, but do the occasional escape room. That sounds healthier than checking your phone every 2 minutes. So companies are starting to use escape rooms as a team building exercise. Do you see value in that?
I definitely do. And I've had a brief look at the academic research surrounding escape rooms, and one of the big things that they highlight through qualitative research in its kind of infancy at the moment is the teamwork aspect, and how good escape rooms can be in building teams as well.
Can you tell us some of the qualities of a good team? Do they need a strong leader, an authoritarian figure, or should there be a process for making decisions? What do we know about good teamwork?
Well, what we know about good teamwork is that, yes, leadership is an important part, but the emergent leaders that also come from that group can be equally as important, where some incredibly well-functioning groups have multiple leaders who are more capable at doing certain things. And the leaders that are most functionally successful are the ones who are also opening to listening to all the members of the group. So that's where the authoritarian leaders definitely fall down.
Right, okay, yeah, so sort of leading from behind, not from behind, but just, bringing everyone with you. But I feel, maybe you can comment on this as well, because you must deal with people who are in unpleasant workplaces. They don't like the culture, they don't like the boss, and they turn up to you. I'm wondering how common is that authoritarian approach to leadership? Do we have generally lead from behind type characters, or do we have very disciplinarian workplaces that are damaging people?
I would say, in my experience, there is actually a balance, and that's been a very positive thing for me to see in my career so far, in that I have had contact with clients who have incredibly good leaders, but then will also be dealing with an authoritarian sort of, their ears are shut, I'm not listening to any feedback from anyone leader in the same workplace.
Right.
Or dealing with an authoritarian leader and they need to get out. And that's where we might engage in, well, how do you get unstuck from a situation like that? So I would say there is a balance out there.
Are there any personality types that are particularly drawn to escape rooms?
I couldn't comment super confidently, but I'll have a stab in that personality research is something that I typically shy away from a little bit in my career, but I would say the openness side to personality is definitely more inclined to try experiences like this.
Right, and also maybe they're more comfortable with greyness because they don't need everything to be mapped out. Is that why they are comfortable in an escape room where things are uncertain?
Definitely, and they'd be much more open to taking on the feedback of their partners as well in the group, because people typically do these escape rooms in groups.
Okay, all right. So is there anything else you can tell us about the escape room before we go and try one for ourselves? What should we know about them?
Geez, I think what we should know about them is they're a great thing to be open to. They're something that definitely add to, I guess, the flexibility and strength of our neural pathways in problem solving, and that they're a great time. And if you want to exercise that openness in your own personality, to give it a go.
Just a bit of no quite therapeutic benefit just yet. It's just a bit of a slow burn improvement of the human brain. You wouldn't prescribe it to anyone for any conditions.
Oh, I wouldn't prescribe it for any particular conditions, but in a general sense, if I was your GP and writing you a script at the end of the session, maybe I'd chuck an escape room on there.
It's more fun than Panadol. It's kind of a fun thing to have in your treatment program if you can.
Yeah, 100%. Bit of boredom and an escape room. Off you go.
Nathaniel Wells, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Nathaniel
is a psychologist from North Brisbane Psychologists. If you've got any experience with escape rooms that you can share with us, you can text me on 0467 922 612 or call 1300 222 612. You're listening to ABC Radio Brisbane and Queensland. It's 5 to 9 coming up to news. But before we get there, let's have some Sarah Blasco, All I Want.